Okay, so this tutorial is just going to take you through the basic steps of setting up an Excel spreadsheet in order to collate the results of your questionnaire. Here I have my example questionnaire, and I've only got a selection of questions here. You should probably have a few more questions than myself, and you might have some different variety of ways in which those questions are going to be answered. First thing you need to be aware of is that when you create your spreadsheet to collate the results, you're going to have to separate out each of the questions. So we will be producing one graph per question. So let's start with the question circling your age group, and then we have 5 possible answers for that. So I'm going to go into a Excel spreadsheet, and I'm going to start with a blank workbook. Now, I will have to do some formatting to my workbook in order to make this work, because when I write in the title of the question, so for example here the title of the question was to circle your age range, I can see that it runs over 2 columns. It's going between column A and column B. And I want to be careful that I don't leave blank spaces, because it's going to cause problems with the collation of my data. So I'm just going to resize column A, and that's by dragging this barrier in between columns A and column B in order to ensure that my whole question fits in one cell. And then over here I'm going to list my answers. Okay, so the possible answers for this was less than 10, and then we had, if I just jump back, we had less than 10, 10 to 18, 19 to 28, uh, 29 to 38, and greater than 39. Now you notice I've used the word age at the start here, and the only reason that I've added that in is because my criteria, the options that I have here, are numbers. And I don't want my spreadsheet to confuse these criteria numbers with the actual results, so the number of people who actually selected that option. So by typing in the word age, it automatically tells the spreadsheet that this is text and it's not data to be counted. So now I'm going to make some results up. I'm going to say I ran my questionnaire and 3 of my responses were under 10, 4 of them were aged 10 to 18, 6 of them were 19 to 28, there was 12 aged 29 to 38, and there was only 4 age greater than 39. So you will get that data by actually going through each questionnaire, counting the number of responses and filling in your response here. So that is how I would collate question 1. Let me collate question 2 as well now. So question 2 was select your gender, male or female. Okay, so I'm going to put gender here. And this will be male, female. And out of the total number of responses that we had over here, let's just add those up so I know how many I've got in total. I had 29, let's make that around 30. So I'm going to increase this one to 7 responses. So out of my 30 responses, I have, for example, 14 of them were male and 16 of them were female. So as you can see, I've been setting up my spreadsheet so that I separate out the responses, and I'm doing the responses in a vertical table, like so. If we were to jump down to one of the last questions, which is a strongly agree, no opinion, etc., etc., let's do this one. Human lives are more valuable than animal lives. So if we go into our spreadsheet, just leaving a little gap, Okay, and notice this has gone over 2 sections, so I want to make my column A bigger. I don't want to lose the data by running over more than one column. So in here, I'm going to have my strongly agree. What's the middle option? No opinion. Disagree, and strongly disagree. Okay, and I'm just going to make column B wider because you can see that these two are running over the side. I wouldn't just presume that this cell here is blank, so now I'm going to put my data in this cell. That's where you're going to have problems. So make sure that you make your columns wider. Okay, and let's imagine that out of my 30 responses we had 4 strongly agree, we had 10 agree, we had 16 with no opinion, and then we had 3 strongly disagree and 7 disagree. Okay, so I've now got the responses to 3 sets of questions. So let's have a look at making a graph for these 3 sets of questions. So what I will first of all do is I'm going to select the actual data results, not the title of the graph, but the data. And I'm going to go into the insert section and I'm going to insert a chart. And I have to choose what kind of chart I want. I could set this up as a bar chart, for example. So under my bar chart options, I can pick variety of different bar charts. I'm not going to use any of these stacked bar charts because this is when I'm comparing 2 pieces of data at the same time. I'm not doing that. I'm only questioning one question. So either a regular 2D or a 3D or a horizontal bar chart would all be fine for this. Let's just start with a simple one. And you can see that I have here the age criterias along the bottom, and the number of responses up the top, and a space for the chart title. And the chart title will simply be my question. So I would copy the question across from my cell, Command and C, and jump into the chart title here, and paste that there. And then I would need to add axis titles in order to label my chart correctly. So I can go into the chart design and I can pick a chart design that already has an axis label. So for example, if I run through my various chart options, I can find ones that come with the side headings. Or I can go to add chart element and I'm going to say axis titles, add a primary, and add chart element axis titles for the vertical. And then this one would be number of responses, and this one would be the age range. Okay. So there's my first chart, and once I'm done with my first chart, I can just pick it up like an image, copy it and put it straight into Word. And I am going to need them all in Word anyway for my report. So you can just right click over the top and copy, or select it and Control C to copy and go into a blank Word document and just drop it in there, because that's where it's going to need to go for your report. So I can start collecting all of my charts in here. Let's move on to a different chart. So let's do the gender, male, female. So if I select these ones here, I can go to insert again and I can choose a different type of chart if I wish. I could choose a pie chart, for example. And this one here, as you can see, provides a legend. Okay, and the legend is like the key. And I can rename my chart title up here. The other thing to note that with this one is I don't need axis labels because it's a pie chart. But again, using the chart design, I can choose a chart design that includes, for example, the data. So I can actually show the chart design with the percentage response. So it's broken down the actual number of results into the percentage response, and I can find that for various layouts and various looks, and that's pretty simple to do. So again, I can copy that one and drop it into my Word document. And the last one, again, we've got a selection of responses here, and I can choose any appropriate chart. Try to avoid things like the scatter graphs and things like that. It doesn't really help you to show the number of responses in a scatter graph unless you were trying to compare two pieces of data. It's not really the most appropriate chart. You're probably going to want to stick to your bar charts, either horizontal or vertical, possibly a histogram. Pie charts are fine, but possibly even line charts if you want to show an increase in something. So if you're showing a series of responses from different years or whatever else, then a line chart would be appropriate. But you need to think about the type of chart you pick. So I'm going to pick one of these 3D options for this one. And again, exactly like with the age range, I'm going to add the axis to my X and my Y axis. So I'm going to go to Add Chart Element, Axis Titles, Horizontal, and Add Chart Element, Axis Title, Vertical. And I'm going to label those. Okay. If I wanted to see the actual number on my chart, okay, I can also add chart element for data labels. And I can pick the data label, and it will actually add the value to the top of that chart. And I don't have to have it as a call out like a little text box. I can go to more data label options, and I can see that there are different ways of showing the data labels, and those all appear here under the label options, whether they would be coloured in, whether they would have a border, etc., etc., can be all managed over here. So these are the different methods that I would use to create and manage my charts.